Good morning, UKREiiF. I'd like to start by reflecting on the words of Seneca the Younger. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. We often treat economic barriers as immovable laws of nature to excuse our delays. But Seneca reminds us the real difficulty is simply our own hesitation. I invite you to ask yourselves a fundamental question as I present to you today. Does architecture make us happy? And do communities and neighbourhoods make us happy? We must begin by understanding the essence of our cities as the primary cauldrons of our future success. At a macro level, a city is a high-density social reactor where infrastructure and human energy collide. At a micro level, they are a mosaic of personal stories and sensory details that weave the intimate texture of daily life. Success requires joined-up thinking, a clear strategy, and a long-term vision for total interconnectivity. The tragedy is that we often boil all this complexity down to mere numbers on a spreadsheet, losing the human soul of design in the process. So, let us take a step back and look at the vital difference between what is calculated and what is felt. What is it about a city that creates a truly lasting impression on the human soul? It is the atmosphere, the vibes, that intangible sense of place that defines every great global city. So let us break that down into the physical components that build this collective feeling. It starts with density, bringing museums, offices, homes and schools into one compact urban fabric. But density alone is not enough. It must be coupled with a fierce and unapologetic level of ambition. Too many of our cities suffer from sprawl. Let us take Nottingham as an example. This is an area of low-density sites shouldering the River Trent and turning their backs against it. And this is what we could fit within it, almost the entirety of Barcelona's world-famous Eixample, if only we were ambitious enough. We also need beauty. A city must inspire those who walk its streets every single day. This is how we create genuine neighbourhoods rather than just anonymous collections of buildings. It requires a clear city identity that resonates with every citizen and visitor alike. We need symbols that belong to us, reflecting the DNA of our local culture. We must celebrate and create mixed types of accommodation, from starter homes to intergenerational living. This builds a sense of community by promoting locality and genuine relationships. Our goal is a living, interdependent city where parks, culture, and business districts are interwoven. We need an accessible and sustainable urban fabric that is well connected with excellent public transport. We must also celebrate our history and achievements, from sporting heroics to groundbreaking noble inventions and local legends. And so, I want you to envision this. A future where our potential is fully realised through bold architectural interventions. We need cultural icons. Imagine museums honouring the legacies of Watson Fothergill, Raleigh and Boots. We should champion our local brands with a dedicated Paul Smith Museum or a new Castle Rock Brewery and Vault experience. Imagine a new concert hall, V&A Satellite or Lace Museum, bringing world-class art to our doorstep. We may celebrate our culinary heritage or deliver unbuilt masterpieces on the banks of the River Trent. We should even have the resolve to aim for the global stage, with the ambition to host an Olympic Games. To achieve such an event, we require elite connectivity, like a metro uniting our communities. Iconic infrastructure is vital. Landmark bridges, airport terminals, and revitalised canals. Focusing on the economies of tomorrow by unleashing our heritage. I propose that what we need is the halo effect. But we won't achieve even a handful of these successes unless we end the isolation of ideas. Of course, it's incredibly difficult to achieve meaningful change single-handedly. Here are a few passion projects I have led with others and on my own, aiming to do exactly that. And here are 3 separate ideas to save just one of Nottingham's most adored cultural icons. 3 campaigns, 3 groups of voices, 1 end goal. And that is why I believe it is time to join forces in a dedicated, creative environment. This brings us to the Ideas Lab. A dedicated, creative environment for everyone, where local experts, academe, and the public's ideas can mix. The aim is simple: to democratise the way we design our city. To focus not on the spreadsheet, but on the art of the possible, and how we can work together to achieve it. This is a long-term project, handing custody from one generation to another, breaking down the cycle of short-termism. And so too is the funding. To fund this, I propose the creation of a regional sovereign wealth fund, which will provide money to invest in this vision over decades, whilst its full effects are being realised. Critically, the Ideas Lab needs a home, and I believe it belongs in a revived landmark, a physical space that embodies our newfound sense of ambition, purpose, and pride. I propose the former Nottingham Guildhall, derelict for nearly 2 decades, but reborn as a centre for hope, where great minds can come together and thrash out our future in urban rooms, the Ideas Chamber, and public galleries. A space where architecture can be championed as a vehicle for our happiness and the happiness of our communities. As Jane Jacobs said, cities only provide for everybody when they are created by everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
I mean, the round of applause there for getting through 55 slides in 6 minutes. That's incredible. So the Ideas Lab, this one big item. So the Ideas Lab, big idea. It seems to me though that the secret sauce here isn't just the funding mechanism; it's that addition of the creative aspect. Right? It's having that home for it.
Indeed. I think the environments we live in all over this country, cities, towns, people feel very passionately about them. And we all walk the streets where we live. We all walk down the road, the local high street. And people have ideas constantly, how things could be improved, what they see the future looking like. And that creative element sometimes I feel is ignored, not just in the planning process and the consultation process, but we almost back-end everything where the public are consulted once a scheme is brought to site. And actually we need to think way more holistically and actually front load that. And we have all this talent amongst us. We have the subject matter expertise, we have members of the public with great ideas, and we have the academics in great universities, institutions locally who know and walk the streets far more than a centralised institution. So bringing in that creative aspect, I think, is critical to how we design our cities and towns of the future.
Yeah, and you've had some traction with those designs that you mentioned around that reimagining the city ground and also the Nottingham's historic evidence. What drives you to take those projects on and have that visionary view of it?
Well, I'm not from Nottingham. I'm a born and raised Londoner, and I've moved back to Nottingham where I studied, 13 years ago now, making me feel old. And I'm very passionate about it. I love the city. We hear a lot about the great city we're in today, Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham. But the East Midlands is, in my opinion, a very forgotten region. And I think the work that Claire and her team are doing is great, and it's starting to get some traction. But Nottingham is the matriarchal city. It was formerly known as the Queen of the Midlands. And I'd like to reinstate that. And I think all of that energy that we get from the surrounding region is imperative. So what drives me is being able to express some of that creativity outside the day job, doing things that I enjoy. And for me, passion projects are a bit like doing a painting or playing the guitar.
Excellent. Any questions from our judges?
I mean, I love the idea of a cheese museum. I'm in. So I suppose thinking about the wealth fund from that perspective, obviously investments need returns. How would you articulate the returns to the whole system of doing something probably quite expensive?
That's a very good question, and I'm leaning into an area of expertise. Obviously, I don't come from that kind of background. I'm an architect, and architects have a habit of proposing things that are very expensive, that are undeliverable. Look at the slides there. But in all seriousness, I think that for me, it's about breaking the cycle of short-termism. And actually, if you look at, for example, what's been delivered in London following the Olympic Games and the regeneration in Stratford, that's a long-term vision that's been being delivered for nearly 2 decades now, and you're seeing the benefits of that. And I think we can deliver that in not just Nottingham. This idea could be applied to every regional city across the United Kingdom.
I think you're spot on with what you said about making sure that we involve everyone in this. How do you see that engagement working? Because obviously you also said we engage with the public much further in the process than we probably should. So how do we do that differently with this in mind?
I think it's about having a comprehensive master plan and vision about what we're trying to achieve. We tend to look at individual sites within cities now, without, in my opinion, having a very comprehensive vision about where we're going in the future. And once you've got that, I think that's when you can engage the public. And actually, as part of forming that vision and having that holistic vision, it's asking the public what they think. You don't need to be an architect or a designer to influence the way your city or town is designed. You live there, you know what works best. And I think it's about having that very transparent transactional relationship. Lots of people tend to kind of hold their idea quite close, it's my idea. But actually taking off that cloak and sharing and developing through an iterative process, bringing all those great minds together, I think achieves a better outcome.
Excellent stuff. Well, thank you very much to all three of you.